Good morning, everyone. So, there is a lot of discussion right now around communicating your brand messages to your client, right? But how well are you communicating that message internally? Today at 10 and 10, we're going to discuss that. Good morning, everyone. My name is Paula Madison Sierra, host of 10 at 10, and I'm with Power Marketing SF here in San Francisco. Today, I'm going to have Ben Baker on the show. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Paula?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm so
Awesome.
glad that you were able to do this stand in last minute for me. I so appreciate you.
Well, we're on the same time zone, which for me is just a rarity. I love talking to somebody that's actually like, oh, wait a second, it's 10 o'clock. Okay, what time zone? No, it's perfect. Pacific? I'm good.
And with COVID, that's so expanded.
Yeah.
I don't think people real we as a business community, we are literally now an international business unit. Last night as I was going to bed, I was having a very active conversation with India,
Yeah.
and in the middle of it, I'm like, "Wait, it's 10 o'clock. We're starting a whole nother conversation." No, I will not be. So everyone started laughing. I'm like, I am exiting. Like, okay, good night. They're like,
Yeah.
we're gonna have breakfast right now. I'm like, go ahead.
I'm the same way. I mean, I'm talking to Australia in the afternoons and Europe in the morning. And if I don't have a time zone calculator on my phone, I'm in serious trouble because you're going, okay, what time is it in Perth? Okay, good. Okay, now I know I can actually get in touch with these people.
See, that's a good idea. I think I'm gonna use that. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Ben Baker, executive producer, Your Living Brand, content creator, speaker, fellow marketer.
There you go.
We have a lot of to discuss as far as trends concerned, sir. But why don't you start off by sharing with the audience a little bit about yourself and how did you get to this place?
Sure. I've been in communication for 25 years now. Go back 25 years, pre 9/11, I was George Clooney. I was up in the air. I was literally on a plane 200 plus days a year. I was in the high tech business, and my job was to make sure that the problems got fixed.
Yeah.
And my wife and I looked at each other and said, "This is a divorce waiting to happen." And I went up to my to the owner of the company. I said, "Look, either double my salary to pay for the divorce or cut my travel days in half. Your choice." They said, "Let's buy you out." I said, "Perfect."
Yeah.
So they bought me out. I went and played golf for 6 months, and I ran into a guy that was in the direct mail business that was looking for somebody with a high tech background. And my love for communication started there. And I started off in the direct mail business. I killed lots and lots of trees. And over the years, it got into branding, it got into promotional marketing, it got into trade show development, but it's always been telling people's story in an effective way so other people listen, understand, and care. And what I realized a number of years ago is there's an enormous amount of people focused on external brand, but the internal brand is being neglected. People inside the company don't understand what is the true value of the company, why am I here, how do I help, and does this company's culture and purpose align with my personal culture so I'm willing to work harder and be part of the solution. So that's where I am today.
Yeah, absolutely. As part of marketing strategy, when I sit down with my clients, I'm like, we need to like make sure that the strategy works into hiring as well, so that
Mm-hmm.
you're sharing this during the hiring process as well. So this rolls us right into where we are right now. Let's talk about the great resignation trend. Some people have their noses up about it. Thinking poorly of employees. I don't think poorly of employees for the things that they're doing right now and resigning. What's your thoughts about this?
Well, I'm calling it rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic for the time being. I look at it from both sides of the
Yeah,
fence. You
yeah,
have businesses and a lot of businesses. Some businesses aren't, but a lot of businesses that are out of touch. They're wanting to go back to the way things were, the 9 to 5 at your desk, micromanagement, poor leadership, poor communication, everything that goes along with it. You also have employees that think the grass is greener somewhere else when it's really truly only another shade of green.
yeah.
So we're dealing with challenges on both sides that we need to understand really what do we want? What do we want versus what do we need? What are the things that are important for us? What type of company do we really want to work for? And we have to stop chasing the money. We have to stop chasing the promotion and the title and start sitting there going, what are the things that are important to us? Is it that we want autonomy, or do we want flexibility? Because flexibility in work schedule doesn't really necessarily mean autonomy. And
Exactly.
we need to take a look at that as both employees and corporations say, what can we really offer? What type of employees and what kind of culture do we really want as a company? And how do we live it? And on the employee side, we have to sit there and say, what do we truly want? What's important to us? And how do we figure out what type of companies are going to be the right company fit for us, so we're not moving from company to company to company and rearranging deck chairs in the Titanic?
This rolls us right into my next question, though. So, how are we looking at changes that should be happening on the leadership side, though? Because there are clear changes that need to be made there as well, right? Because standing over an employee and having them do what we need them to, well, that trend's been gone way prior to COVID, and people had been hanging on to that bus for a while.
Oh,
Um,
it
Now
absolutely
COVID's
is.
forced us to make some changes because we need to actually look at what's going on around us, right? What's your thoughts about that, Ben?
Well, COVID has only been an accelerator. That's all that COVID has been. I mean, the trend has been there for 10 plus years. If you take a look at resumes and if you take a look at LinkedIn profiles over the last 10 years, the tenure of people within companies is becoming shorter and shorter and shorter. And a lot of it comes down to poor leadership. A lot of it comes down to poor communication within the company. The problem is companies go away on these retreats. Leadership goes away on these retreats. They create these mission, vision, value statements. They put them up on a wall. They talk about them once at some shareholder meeting,
Yeah,
and they never live them.
yeah,
They never live them. And the better thing to do is create a brand story. Who am I? What do I do? Why do I do it? Who do I do it for? What's the value that I add? Where are we today? Where are we going? How do the people within the company belong, and how do they help us succeed? And then they have to live it. The meetings need to be represented, decisions within the company, how people are compensated, the type of compensation that people get, the bonuses that people get, how people are talked to, and how people are promoted within the company, all need to be able to be in line with who you are as a corporation. And no two companies are going to be exactly the same, but you need to live what you believe your culture and your purpose is.
absolutely. One that I feel that I see quite a lot, when you sit down with companies and you're going through the strategy, the one that I see that makes me a little crazy, Ben, is as soon as profitability starts happening, things,
Mm-hmm.
the bus is moving beautifully, fine-tuned. Oh, let's take some percentage off of the salespeople so that we can, the greed is good concept from the 80s kind of seeping back in. Like, but that's not part of the message of who you said the company was. And as you know, salespeople are motivated by money, and now you're going to take monies off the table, which was the accelerant, the fire that caught us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand the thinking behind some of the leadership decisions that I've been seeing, and I've seen for a while. How do you handle the remote hybrid workforce within that? Because listen, I have a friend who was hired during the COVID period, so she's never had an in-office
Mm-hmm.
experience with her boss and her team. How do you communicate a message like that across basically remotely, right?
Well, the first thing is onboarding becomes more and more critical. When you're dealing in a situation where remote onboarding is how you're going to onboard employees, it becomes even more challenging. And it has to become more interactive, it has to be more engaging, and you need, as the HR department or whoever the team is that is in charge of onboarding people, to be able to sit there and say, does this person understand? You need to have that two-way communication. You need to understand, do they understand the brand story? Do they understand the purpose of the company? Do they understand how they fit in? Are they comfortable where they are? What do they need? What are they missing? And be responsive to those type of things, because nothing's worse than showing up your first day at the office, being handed a desk, a telephone, and a set of business cards and say, "I'll see you at lunch." You know, and that happens so many times in so many
Exactly.
organizations. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm being a little facetious,
No,
but
no, you're not.
there's a real need to have a real onboarding process that talks about the history of the company, the people of the company, that you get a chance, hopefully in person, but if not remotely, so you actually meet the president of the company, you meet the different department heads, you talk about how the company works from a multitude of different angles, and have those lines of communication open, and even have mentors within the company that are set up to say, hey, listen, your job, and we're going to pay you a little extra to do this, is to be a mentor for either a junior salesperson or a junior person in the department. And we want to build the culture of a mentorship program within the company so you can bring these people on board quicker, more effectively, and faster. Once you start getting into people being there on a daily basis, leaders need to sit there and say, no two people are the same. you know some
Mhm.
people need daily check-ins, some people want weekly check-ins, some people don't want to be bothered except for monthly. Some people just want to be said, I'm doing my job, I understand what my goals are, I understand what's expected of me, I understand what this. I don't want to sit there and be in every single meeting under the sun.
Yeah.
And we need to understand, how do different people communicate? Do certain people want telephone calls, other people want Zoom is exhausting. Let's get this straight. Zoom is exhausting, having to dress up, having to be, make sure your hair is done, your makeup, making sure that you're paying attention, all those sort of things, and being able to flip on and flip off from meeting to meeting to meeting is absolutely exhausting. Sometimes a phone call is great. Not every single meeting needs to be on camera.
Yeah.
And we need to sit there and say, how do you, as the person that's going to be across from me, want to communicate? What's the methods that's convenient for you and makes the most sense? What do you need in order to be successful? And what do you need from me to enable you to be more successful? And that's what a good leader does.
I love that. Um, Let me ask you another question though. With all of these changes that are going on, I think it brought something you said kind of triggered.
Hmm.
Do you think as a country, have we not, maybe we have not been focused enough in our conversation because we've been so distracted by digital previously in a
Hmm.
meeting. I mean, it used to really kind of annoy me, but someone's speaking and they're off in their phone.
Hmm.
But now you're forced to work a muscle that you've never had to work before. And it is exhausting because, it's like going to the gym. You've never been to the gym before, right?
Hmm.
And you're like, I have a muscle there. I did not know
I call it James. It's been so long since I've been to the gym. I call it James. Okay. I have to be rather formal with it because it's been a while since I've been there.
See,
But
well, I understand. But what
but
do you think about that? I mean, it's just a side note that I'm realizing, and we're all learning this, right?
Mhm.
To really see each other and engage with each other and forced to practice active listening. As I'm sitting with you, so I'm hearing what's going on. Is this necessarily a bad muscle?
The problem with technology is most companies use technology as a crutch and an excuse. They don't use it as a tool to help people. And it's used as a way to sit there and say, okay, how can I micromanage my people? You look at the CRMs and the information that's being input into the CRM, the contact relationship management software. A lot of it is garbage in, garbage out. It's in there to be put in, not because you're going to use it, not because that it's going to move the needle in one way, shape, or form. It's because now I know what the person's doing. Where were they at Tuesday at 10 o'clock? And I can go back 6 months from now and I can prove, hey, wait a second, Tuesday at 10 o'clock, you were supposed to be at this meeting and you were taking your daughter to the dentist,
Yeah.
and be able to do that. That's not what the technology is for. Technology is for to be able to allow us to be more productive. The fact that I don't have to be at my desk, from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. I can go out and I can do things in the car or on a walk or whatever, have my phone in my back pocket. And when it rings, I can pick it up and I can be productive.
I have to say, though, I do love how some companies have embraced this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, uh, because to me it becomes a wellness issue, right? So if I want to go out, I was on a Zoom call with someone the other day, but they had their Zoom thing on a holder, so they were just kind of holding it as they were out for a walk. They're like, I've been in the off inside all day, so I figure I could take this meeting outside with you and just walk. That's okay, right? So, yeah, but I love that some companies have embraced this, but you're right. Some companies have been fighting. It's like trying to pull a cat off to put them in water. It's like they're holding on tight, like let me go.
I'm not doing, and it's command and control. I mean, I hate to say it. A lot of leadership were so comfortable with command and control type environments that it to not have that command and control is almost like them losing their left arm. And we need to get beyond the fact that command and control works, because it doesn't. It just doesn't work. We need to sit there and say, what is the output? What are the outcomes that we want from people? Whether they work at 7 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock at night should be irrelevant if that's what they choose to do. If somebody wants to take 3 hours in the afternoon to go watch their kid play soccer, but they still get the job done on time and it's right and it's effective and nobody else in the company is affected because they took that 3 hour break, who cares? Why should we care? We need to take a look at it and sit there and say, what are our expectations? We as leaders expect such from our team members, and our team members should expect X from us. That should almost be a written contract. It should be understood, and both sides need to be held accountable. And I think when we can do that, we get far better communication, we get far better expectations, and we get far more productive and profitable companies.
Absolutely. So let's talk ineffective mission statements, vision, value statements. I think we just drifted right there. Um, you know, Talk to me about not being aligned with what you say and how you treat your people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty. I am totally guilty. I have been the one on many occasions that have gone to these really nice resorts, been flown into these 5-star resorts with a management team, and we've locked ourselves into a room for 2 or 3 days, and we've whiteboarded mission, vision, value statements. And then I ask people, so what are you going to do about this? And that's when you get the deer in the headlights look. You sit there and you go, okay, now that you've written all this wonderful things and you've said the customer experience is number one, okay, what are you doing as a company to make sure the customer experience is number one? What are you doing to take your on hold time from 30 minutes down to 2 minutes? What are you doing to make sure that the people that are manning up the customer experience lines are enabled and empowered to be able to make decisions, to be able to help your people, be better and be able to make your customers happier? When you say that employee satisfaction is number one, well, what are you really doing with that? What are the things that we want to do? We have all these wonderful pithy words, but the question is, they mean one thing to one company and one thing to a different company. So we need to use actionable things instead of these pithy statements and these grandiose ideas. We need to say that, we as a company do not lie to each other. And that, and I'm using that as a thing. I'm hoping every company has, the understanding that nobody has to lie to each other. But when we take it to that level and we create the statements at that level, it says, this is what we truly believe in. This is what we're going to live by. This is, people who break this law are going to be fired or severely reprimanded. That's when the real change happens. Yeah. When you don't live your mission, vision, value statements, when you don't believe and know exactly what's expected of you and everybody else, nothing happens.
Oh, wow. That's really powerful, How do we align our teams with a culture and a purpose? Can you offer us some solutions?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you need to understand is, what do we want our culture and our purpose to be? Never mind what Google wants, never mind what Netflix wants, never mind what Amazon wants. What do we as an organization within these 4 walls or within this series of 4 walls, want? What do we believe in as an organization? What are the things that are important to us? What are the hills that we're willing to die on? What are the things that are vitally important to us as an organization? And we need to live those things on a daily basis. And if we can do that, we can build a stronger culture and purpose. But we need to sit there and say, okay, this is who we are as an organization. We need to hire with those things in mind. Says, if you're not this, this, and this, please don't apply for this job. If you don't agree with this, and this statement, this company may not be for you. You know, and there was an organization that I worked with that was making a huge shift in their thought. I said, listen, are you willing to say this, this, and this? He says, yeah. He says, do you realize that 30% of your staff are going to leave? He says, yep. I said, okay.
Um,
As long as you're comfortable with that,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
you understand that this is what you need to do to take your company from being a commodity to being a brand worth loving, you're going to have to lose 30% of your people because they're not aligned with the new direction that you're going with. That's okay, because the 70% of the people that stay are going to be passionate advocates for that new brand.
Yeah. Yeah. Live your brand message,
Mm-hmm.
right? Don't just say it. So what do you think the new normal is going to look like moving forward? Um,
Here's my thought. We are always in a state of change. We are always in a state of flux.
yeah.
We've been in a state of flux for thousands of years. We'll be in a state of flux for times to come. This is a blip. COVID, the last 2 years, the next 2 years probably are going to be a blip, and we're going to have lessons that we're going to learn. We're going to evaluate. We're going to change, and we're going to grow. And it's all about you being creative. It's all about being resilient, and it's all about better communication. And when we can take a look at this as organizations and say, what worked well, what didn't work well, the stuff that didn't work well, let's get rid of it. Let's not hold on to a baby just because it looked cute at the time. If it's no longer serving our purpose as an organization, if it's not helping our customers, if it's not helping our people, why are we still doing this? Let's get rid of it. And let's sit there and say, what are the things that work and what are the things that we should be looking at into the future to say, okay, let's take a look at this and let's experiment with that. Let's incorporate that in a small area, see how it works, and test it out and figure out, okay, does that work for us as an organization? Great. Now let's expand it to the organization. And I think every organization has to constantly see that their world is constantly going to be changing, and we need to constantly be evaluating where we are, where we came from, and where we're going, and have the people in place in order to help us get there.
I like massively powerful message, Ben. I really appreciate your time today. It's like I feel like we could possibly go on for a while, because there's so much that has happened over and like you said, last 2 years, what a blip.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize it until someone brought it to my attention. It's like it's been 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
but we're learning so much, and more is about to happen any day now. So that should be interesting. I know that you do training and one-to-one coaching with large companies, but I also know at the base of your business as well, you offer content creation.
Yes.
Getting folks on the right track with their podcast. Um, Tell me a little bit about what exactly is the area.
We have two different levels, and we work with corporations, mid to large size companies. And we have either internal podcasts or external podcasts. And the internal podcasts are designed for companies probably in the $100 million range and above. And what they're designed to do is to be behind closed doors, stream only, secure areas of communication where we help you set it up, we host it. We're the ones that can be behind the mic and enable you to have effective communication channels internally to be able to help with change management, product launches, DEI, purpose and culture issues, and enable your people to be able to understand what's happening in the other departments and break down silos. The other thing we do is we work with companies to be able to build an external podcast for them to enable them to talk to their clients and be able to tell their story effectively. And with every podcast episode, we curate 25 pieces of content from from that podcast and enable you to use it throughout your social media, on your website, on your email campaigns in order to be able to extend the story.
Nice. I love this. Do you have any webinars or anything coming up that folks might want to attend, or any talks that you're doing? Um, and I could share that, guys, if there is, I'll share that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of talks that are coming up, mostly for private. I'm doing a talk tomorrow actually on telling the story of change, and I'm doing that for a global organization on climate change. And they asked me to come in, and it's about what is it? It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Greenwich Mean Time, so about 8:30 on I think 8:30 or 9 o'clock. I can't remember what time I'm actually on.
AM
It,
or PM?
no, a.m. in the morning, 8:30 a.m.
Oh, in
Pacific
the
time.
morning. Okay.
Yeah, and if you go to my LinkedIn, which is Your Brand Marketing, I just put a link on there this morning. So if people go to Your Brand Marketing, and they should see the link for that, and that's probably the best way to find out about it. There's always talks that I'm doing. Most of the talks I do are for private organizations, but this happens to be one that I'm doing for the public.
Oh, thank you so much, Ben, for the great information today. I really appreciate it. As always, to everyone, my continued mission statement is to introduce you to my great referral partners and to share their expertise with you, as well as offering some marketing tips as well. These videos should assist you moving forward, but if you need deeper expertise to move you ahead deliberately and progressively, please reach out to my guest today for developing and managing your podcasts and your content, or myself for marketing, for day-to-day marketing. This has been 10 at 10, another episode every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time on LinkedIn. Thank you so much to my viewers and all the folks that helped us to transition over from Facebook to LinkedIn. Ben, can you give me a quote to close out the show today?
You betcha. And before I go, people can find me at yourbrandmarketing.com is probably the best way for people to find me. That's yourbrandmarketing.com. And the quote I leave everybody with is, your brand is only as valuable as your unhappiest employee on their worst day.
Oh, and who's that quote by?
That's me.
Thank you so much, Ben. Everyone, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Take care, have a great day, and keep moving forward.